Beloved, how often do we measure ourselves by what we do rather than who we are? We live in a world that whispers, you'll be enough when you land that job, when you lose the weight, when you have the perfect relationship, when you finally achieve the elusive standard of success. But let me tell you the truth. Your worth is not up for debate. You are enough the moment you took your first breath, and you are enough now, just as you are. The problem is, we have spent years internalizing the belief that worth must be earned. We've been told that our value is tied to our productivity, our performance, or the approval of others. And so we chase after validation like it's oxygen, hoping that if we do enough, achieve enough, or please enough people, we will finally feel whole. But beloved, that is a race with no finish line. No accomplishment, no relationship, no external praise will ever make you feel worthy if you don't first believe it yourself. So let's redefine what it means to be enough. Being enough does not mean being perfect. It does not mean having all the answers or never making mistakes. It means showing up as you are, fully human, with all your strengths and all your struggles. It means embracing the truth that your value does not fluctuate based on how well you perform today or how much you struggle tomorrow. Your worth is not a stock market. It does not rise and fall based on external conditions. Think about a child learning to walk. They stumble, they fall, they get back up, and we celebrate every step they take. We never say, well, you only took 2 steps today, so you're not enough. No, we encourage them knowing that their worth is not in how many steps they take, but in who they are. So why do we as adults hold ourselves to a different standard? Why do we believe that our struggles make us less worthy? Beloved, if a child's worth is never in question, then neither is yours. This belief in your inherent worth does not mean you won't grow or improve. In fact, when you truly believe you are enough, you stop living in fear of failure. You take risks. You dream big. You step outside of your comfort zone, not because you are trying to prove yourself, but because you already know you are worthy of love and belonging. When you stop chasing worthiness, you start living freely. And let's talk about self-compassion. If you are enough, then that means even on your hardest days, even when you mess up, even when you fall short of your expectations, you still deserve kindness. How many times have you extended grace to a friend but refused to give it to yourself? How many times have you comforted someone else, telling them they are enough, but looked in the mirror and questioned your own value? It's time to change that narrative. It's time to speak to yourself with the same love and tenderness you so freely give to others. Beloved, the truth is this. You don't need to earn your worthiness. You don't need to hustle for it, prove it, or win it like a trophy. It is already yours. Right here, right now. The journey is not about becoming enough. It's about remembering that you always have been. So today, I want you to tell yourself, I am enough. Say it out loud. Write it down. Let it sink into your bones. And when the world tries to tell you otherwise, stand firm in this truth. Because when you embrace your worthiness, when you truly believe you are enough, you begin to live with courage, joy, and the freedom to be exactly who you were created to be. Beloved, we are wired for comfort. Our instincts tell us to stay where it's safe, to avoid pain, to choose the path of least resistance. And yet, deep inside, we crave growth. We long to stretch beyond our limits, to become more than we were yesterday, to step into the fullness of who we are meant to be. But growth and comfort do not walk hand in hand. The moment we choose courage, we are stepping into the unknown, into discomfort, into the possibility of failure. And that is terrifying. But, beloved, it is also where transformation happens. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is feeling fear and stepping forward anyway. It is standing at the edge of uncertainty and saying, I don't know how this will turn out, but I will try. It is having the hard conversation instead of avoiding it. It is choosing honesty over people pleasing. It is speaking up when silence would be easier. It is putting yourself out there, knowing rejection is possible. Courage is messy. It does not always look like grand heroic acts. More often, it looks like small daily decisions to do what is right instead of what is easy. And let's be honest, comfort is seductive. It feels good to stay where we are, to stick with what is familiar. But comfort can become a cage. It can trap us in jobs we don't love, relationships that don't serve us, mindsets that keep us small. The truth is, staying comfortable often costs us more than we realize. It costs us growth. It costs us dreams. It costs us the person we are meant to become. Beloved, if you find yourself stuck, ask yourself, am I choosing comfort over courage? Am I settling because it's easier than stepping into the unknown? Growth demands something from us. It demands that we risk failure, that we endure discomfort, that we let go of who we were to become who we are meant to be. And this is where most people turn back. When the road gets hard, when fear creeps in, when the uncertainty feels overwhelming, it is tempting to retreat. But hear me. Discomfort is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. It is a sign that you are growing. When a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it does not transform without struggle. It pushes, it wrestles, it breaks free. Growth is painful, but on the other side of it is freedom. One of the greatest myths we believe is that we must wait to feel brave before we act. But courage is not a feeling, it is a decision. If you wait until you feel ready, you will never move. You must take the first step scared, unsure, with shaky hands and a racing heart, because every time you do, you build resilience. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you expand your capacity to handle the unknown. You prove to yourself that you are stronger than you think, and little by little, courage becomes your way of life. Beloved, let me remind you that failure is not the enemy. Staying stuck is. If you step out and fail, you learn. If you step out and succeed, you grow. Either way, you move forward. But if you let fear keep you paralyzed, you rob yourself of the opportunity to become more than you were yesterday. Do not let the fear of discomfort keep you from your destiny. Do not let the desire for ease steal the life you were created to live. So today I want you to ask yourself, where am I choosing comfort over courage? What is one small step I can take toward growth, even if it's uncomfortable? Maybe it's setting a boundary. Maybe it's speaking up. Maybe it's trying something new. Whatever it is, take the step. It does not have to be perfect. It only has to be brave. Beloved, the life you want, the person you are meant to be, the purpose you are called to, it all exists on the other side of courage. And you, my dear, were made for more than comfort. You were made to grow, to stretch, to rise. So step forward, even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, because every act of courage writes a new story. And I promise you, the story of a life lived bravely is worth it. Beloved, we have been taught to fear failure. From the time we were children, we learned that mistakes meant red marks on a paper, disapproving looks, or consequences that made us feel small. Somewhere along the way, we started believing that failure defines us, that if we mess up, we are failures. But hear me, mistakes are not who you are. They are not labels that you must carry. They are lessons, stepping stones, invitations to growth. If you allow them, they will shape you not into someone who is ashamed, but into someone who is wiser, stronger, and more resilient. The problem is we often let failure become a name we wear rather than a lesson we learn. We say things like, I always mess up, or I'm just not good enough, or I should have known better. And in doing so, we tie our worth to our worst moments. But beloved, you are not your mistakes. You are not defined by the times you fell short, by the choices you regret, or by the moments you wish you could erase. You are defined by how you rise after you fall, by how you learn, by how you choose to keep going even when it's hard. Think about the people you admire most, the leaders, the innovators, the visionaries. Every single one of them has failed. Every single one of them has made mistakes. The difference is they did not let those mistakes stop them. They did not sit in shame and say, well, I guess this is who I am now. No, they looked at failure as a teacher, as something to learn from. They understood that mistakes are proof that they were trying, that they were stepping into something bigger than themselves. Let me remind you of something important. Growth cannot happen without mistakes. If you never fail, it means you are not taking risks, you are not stepping out of your comfort zone, you are not pushing yourself towards something greater. Failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of the path to success. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history came from mistakes. Some of the most beautiful stories were born from failures that turned into lessons. If you can shift your mindset and see failure as a classroom instead of a courtroom, you will begin to grow in ways you never imagined. And let's talk about grace. When a child learns to walk, they stumble, they fall down over and over again. But do we look at that child and say, well, you fell, so I guess you'll never walk? No, we encourage them, we cheer them on, we tell them to get back up and try again. So why do we not extend that same grace to ourselves? Why do we treat our mistakes as permanent stains rather than temporary lessons? Beloved, you are allowed to be human. You are allowed to get it wrong sometimes. What matters is that you don't let those moments define your future. Mistakes also teach us something deeper. They reveal what we need to change, what we need to heal, what we need to let go of. Sometimes failure redirects us. It shows us that we were chasing something that wasn't meant for us. It reminds us that there is more to learn, more to refine, more to discover. If we listen closely, our mistakes can guide us toward a better version of ourselves. But that only happens when we stop letting shame take the wheel and start letting wisdom lead the way. So, beloved, what if instead of fearing mistakes, you welcomed them? What if you saw them as opportunities to grow, as moments that make you wiser, stronger, and more compassionate? What if you stopped seeing failure as a dead end and started seeing it as a detour, a path that is leading you somewhere even greater? The way you talk to yourself about failure will determine how you move forward. Instead of saying, I am a failure, start saying, I am learning. Instead of saying, I should have done better, start saying, now I know better. Shift the way you see yourself and watch how your confidence begins to grow. Beloved, mistakes are part of the journey. They do not define you, they refine you. And as long as you keep learning, keep growing, and keep showing up, you will never truly fail. So take a deep breath, let go of the shame, and step forward with courage, because every mistake, every setback, every failure is shaping you into someone who is wiser, braver, and more resilient than you ever imagined. And that, my dear, is something to be proud of. Beloved, we were never meant to walk this life alone. From the moment we take our first breath, we are wired for connection. We crave it, we need it, and when we have it, we thrive. Yet somewhere along the way, we start believing the lie that we must do life on our own, that strength means never asking for help, that vulnerability is weakness, that our struggles are ours to bear in silence. But hear me, isolation is not protection. It is a wound that deepens over time. And the only thing that can heal that wound is connection. We live in a world that glorifies independence, that tells us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, to tough it out, to figure it out on our own. But beloved, strength is not about standing alone. It's about knowing when to lean on others. We were not created to be self-sufficient in all things. We were created for community, for relationships that hold us up when we are weary, for friendships that remind us we are not alone. Strength is not in isolation. Strength is in the courage to say, I need you. But vulnerability is scary, isn't it? It feels like standing in the open, unarmed, hoping that no one will use our truth against us. We fear rejection, judgment, or being seen as weak. So we hide. We wear masks that say, I'm fine, when we are anything but fine. We build walls instead of bridges, convincing ourselves that if we don't let people in, they can't hurt us. But the truth is, those same walls that keep out pain also keep out love. And love, beloved, is what heals us. Think about the last time you felt truly seen. When someone sat with you in your pain and did not try to fix it. When someone heard your story and did not turn away. When someone reminded you that you were worthy even in your mess. That moment, that connection was healing. Because healing does not always come from answers or solutions. Sometimes it comes from simply being held in the presence of another, from knowing that you do not have to carry your burdens alone. On the other hand, isolation deepens our wounds. When we withdraw from connection, our fears grow louder. Our struggles feel heavier. The lies we tell ourselves that we are unworthy, unlovable, alone become easier to believe. And the longer we stay in that space, the harder it is to reach out. But beloved, hear me. Your pain does not make you a burden. Your struggles do not make you unworthy of love. There are people who want to walk with you, who will love you not in spite of your mess, but right in the middle of it. And let's talk about the power of community. When we are surrounded by the right people, people who see us, love us, and call us to be our best selves, we grow, we heal, we find the strength to keep going. Community is not just about being around others. It is about being deeply known. It is about finding those few souls with whom we can be our raw, unfiltered selves and still be accepted. If you have people like that in your life, cherish them. And if you don't, seek them out, because life is too heavy to carry alone. Sometimes we hesitate to connect because we believe our struggles disqualify us. We think, I'll let people in when I have it all together, or no one wants to hear my mess. But beloved, connection is not built on perfection. It is built on shared humanity. It is built on the willingness to say, me too. When we open up, when we share our struggles, we give others permission to do the same. We create a space where authenticity is valued over appearance, where love is not conditional on having it all figured out. And this is why vulnerability is so powerful. It is the bridge between hearts, the language of true connection. It is saying, I don't have all the answers, but I'm here. It is showing up even when we are scared. It is choosing honesty over image, truth over pretense. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the birthplace of love, trust, and belonging. Without it, relationships remain shallow. With it, they become unbreakable. But let's be real. Community is messy. People will disappoint us. They will misunderstand us. They will hurt us. And sometimes it feels easier to walk away, to shut people out, to believe that isolation is safer than risking another wound. But beloved, do not let past hurt keep you from future healing. Yes, people are imperfect, but that does not mean connection is not worth the risk. Finding the right people, the ones who love you deeply and show up for you consistently, is worth the effort. And let us not forget, connection is a two-way street. We long to be seen, but we must also be willing to see others. We long to be supported, but we must also be willing to offer our presence. If you want deep relationships, be that kind of friend. Be the person who listens, who loves without conditions, who holds space for others. Because the more we pour into authentic connection, the more it pours back into us. So, beloved, if you are struggling, do not suffer in silence. Reach out, let someone in. And if you see someone else who is struggling, be the one who reaches for them, because connection heals. It reminds us that we are not alone, that we are worthy of love, that we belong. The truth is, we do not heal in isolation. We heal in love, in friendship, in community. So today, choose connection. Choose to let yourself be seen, to let yourself be loved. because you, beloved, were never meant to do this alone. Beloved, joy is not just an emotion, it is a choice, a practice, a way of living. It is something we must fight for, especially in a world that often tells us to brace for disappointment, to prepare for the worst, to temper our happiness so we won't be caught off guard by pain. But hear me, joy is not naive. Joy does not ignore hardship or pretend that suffering does not exist. Joy stands in the middle of life's mess and says, even here, even now, I will find something to be grateful for. Yet for so many of us, joy feels fleeting, like something that happens to us rather than something we can cultivate. We wait for joy to arrive when we get the promotion, when we meet the right person, when life finally falls into place. But beloved, if we are always waiting for the perfect moment to embrace joy, we will spend our entire lives chasing something that is already within reach. Joy is not found in some distant future. It is found in the present, in the small, ordinary moments we so often overlook. But let's be honest, choosing joy is not always easy. Life is hard. There are days when the weight of the world feels unbearable, when pain and disappointment make joy seem impossible. And in those moments, the last thing we want to hear is just be happy. Because joy is not about forcing a smile or pretending everything is okay. True joy is about making space for gratitude even when life is difficult. It is about holding sorrow in one hand and gratitude in the other, knowing that both can exist at the same time. And this is why gratitude is such a powerful practice. Gratitude does not erase hardship, but it shifts our perspective. It reminds us of what is still good, of what is still worth celebrating. When we practice gratitude, we train our hearts to look for joy, even in unexpected places. We begin to see the beauty in the mundane, the warmth of the sun on our face, the kindness of a stranger, the laughter of a loved one. These moments are gifts, but too often we rush past them in pursuit of something bigger. But beloved, joy is not just found in the big moments. It is found in the quiet, ordinary ones too. Yet even when joy is within reach, many of us hesitate to embrace it fully. We downplay our happiness as if feeling too much joy is dangerous. We tell ourselves this won't last or something bad is bound to happen. And in doing so, we rob ourselves of the very thing we long for. But beloved, joy is not something you have to apologize for. You do not need permission to celebrate, to laugh, to soak in the goodness of life. You do not need to justify your happiness to anyone, not even yourself. Joy is your birthright. It is not selfish, it is sacred. And let me tell you something else. Joy is a form of resistance. In a world that constantly feeds us fear, worry, and negativity, choosing joy is an act of defiance. It is standing firm and saying, I will not let darkness steal my light. It is choosing hope when despair whispers that all is lost. It is refusing to let the struggles of life drown out the beauty that still exists. Beloved, joy is a fight worth engaging in, because when you choose joy, you do not just change your own life, you bring light to those around you. But joy is not meant to be hoarded, it is meant to be shared. When we experience joy, we must pass it on through kindness, through love, through moments of presence with those we care about. The world does not need more cynicism, more fear, more reasons to stay guarded. The world needs more people who are willing to embrace joy fully and invite others to do the same. So be that person. Be the one who laughs loudly, who celebrates often, who reminds others that life is still beautiful even when it is hard. Beloved, joy is not something to be earned. It is not a reward for having everything figured out. It is something you can choose today, right now, in this very moment. Do not let fear convince you that joy is fragile. Do not let past pain keep you from embracing the happiness that is in front of you. Fight for joy. Fight for gratitude. Fight for the ability to fully experience the beauty of your life without apology. Because joy, beloved, is always worth it.